Okay, everyone, we are back. This is episode 2 of Game IQ, and the people have spoken. Over 40,000 viewers in the first week of episode 1, and then Twitter and Instagram popped off, and we were mentioned in a pretty prominent sports business email newsletter called #Sports for saying that Game IQ is one of the best videos on the internet. They didn't actually say that, but we're going to keep shooting. So today, we're going to talk about midfield shooting, which most of it comes off of a dodge, except of one clip in the end where I'll show you Mike Chanachuk's two-pointer and how he scores so many of them. But like we did last week, we'll start at the top with Atlas, and then we'll move through and we're going to show one of the chaos midfielders, and then, as I said, a whipsnakes midfielder. Now, before we jump in, with each clip, I'm going to identify two major things. The first is obvious, the dodger who then shoots, how he got open, where he's shooting, and why. And the second are that midfielder's adjacent players. So what they're doing to either occupy their man, screen their man, move off ball, so that the dodging midfielder has more opportunity, more time to get his shot off. All right, so we're going to start in Canada for Atlas Chrome. This was a major game for both teams to have their playoffs stay alive. So here we go. I'm approaching my defender, will freeze here. As I said in last week, if you watch, it's critical that the dodger squares his shoulders up to the defender's shoulders. That puts the defender at risk, and he either has to backpedal like he's doing there, or he's going to lunge at you. And so that backpedal gives me an opportunity to go right or left. And if you see how much real estate is to my left, it's in my favor to take advantage of that. I want to call out Joel Tinney. Joel knows that I can go right or left. So in the event that I do dodge right, he's already doing a shallow cut to clear space for me. He realizes that I'm taking my left hand, so he slows down because he doesn't want to run into me and negate my opportunity. Shout out Joel. When Connor Busick, number 33 at the bottom of the screen, sees that I'm dodging, he begins to fade into what we call a shooter spot. Some teams call that the slot. That's 12 yards in the hash. So he fades right there. Ryan Brown, not only one of the best shooters in the game, but one of the most savvy, best critical thinking off-ball players in the game as well, notices that Joel White is lingering, who's guarding Connor Busick, and he's likely the slide man for me. So Ryan Brown sets a back pick on him. That all of a sudden takes Joel White's attention, and Joel tries to fight through it, forgetting that he's the slide guy. So shout out to Ryan Brown for creating that space for me. He doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but what an off-ball pick he set there. Joe Fletcher, last minute, realizes what's happening. He tries to recover, but by then, I'm already winding up and inside of 15 yards front and center on the run with my left hand, which I like to do, and then I'm able to pull the ball across my body low and away. A couple of hesitation moves there to try to ensure that I can create space to open up to my left hand. As soon as I get to here, I realize I've absorbed a punch and I have downhill momentum, and I'm going to be able to shoot so long as I don't get slid to. So at this stage, I'm just going to try to continue momentum, get my stick into my shooting position so I can let it go. Locking and loading there. They still haven't slid. No one's open. So this is a time as a midfielder to make sure you let it go. As a shooter, when you're on the run, when you're front and center, you tend to have all four corners to shoot at. If you're able to take a quick glance at the goalie, you can target positioning and where most of the net is showing. In this case, John Galloway has already beat me to the far pipe. Typically, goalies will trail you by a step, but he's always maintained pretty good central positioning. So John beats me to the far pipe. It's my job in this motion right now to try and pull it back to the short side. Let's go. Okay, here we are playing against the Whips in DC. It's a similar situation. John Crawley has given me the ball coming full steam out of the box, so I have about 7 yards of space to generate momentum against the long pole. See that he's backpedaling. I prefer a defender to backpedal. If they do come up and lunge, that can also be advantageous for the dodger. Just make sure you're making your move early, and then his momentum's carrying him towards the midline, which is opposite the goal. And even if he does make contact, you can get by that contact and have separation. So he's backpedaling. The second thing I noticed there is he's going to throw a lunge. And this poke check right here also shifts his momentum upfield, which ignited me to make a quicker split. And I knew so long as I could swim past that poke check, that I would get my hands free. A defender will throw that poke check against a midfielder who doesn't know how to swim move, and if you're switching hands there, he can dislodge the ball. And that's primarily why I make a swim move. I have that poke check. I let it go so it doesn't stop my momentum, and I'm able to get down and shoot and score. Now, let's talk about the off-ball guys. Notice Joel Tinney again. He knows I like to go to my right, so he's already shallow cutting with Big Mike Earhart on him. And then you have John Crawley busting his ass in to create space for me to come off of a left. But notice John Crawley here. He doesn't just shallow cut and stand still. If he were to have done that, his defender, which is Jeff Reynolds, would have easily pivoted right, opened up, and forced me to curve my dodge all the way outside the 2-point line. Look what John Crawley does. Immediately cuts. And just by doing that, Jeff Reynolds has to honor that, and now their slide has to come from either the crease or adjacent. Boom, great cut by Crawley. They don't slide. I'm able to get my shot off quickly. Now, earlier in the quarter, I had the same take, put the ball in the same place. Bernlohr made a clean save. And then it becomes about a game of rock, paper, scissors. Maybe Bernlohr was thinking I was going to change it up this time. Maybe I was. And then at the split-second moment, you decide to shoot the ball hard and low. A lot of people wonder why I like to shoot the ball low on the run. Here's the thing. When you're on the run, you don't have as much power and momentum as you do when you're time and room. So it then becomes about angles. And your best opportunity is to shoot for the greatest angle, which is typically far side low pipe. And then secondarily, you just want to make it a race between your hands and the goalie's hands. So for me, if I'm on the run and I'm shooting high to high, that goalie between his angle shaving and his read and your slower shot on the run versus time and room is more likely to save it. I'd rather have him beat me to the ground, and I'll take my chances. Let's fucking go, boys. I think that's what I said there. All right, here's a power play. We're playing the Redwoods. We're up by 8 goals, so we're in a pretty powerful position midway through the second quarter in a power play. These are momentum opportunities because if a defense gets a stop on the man short and they turn it around and score, especially man down, then that can lift a comeback. So for us, we really wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, this actually came off of a restart. There's Connor Busick, restarted it in. And there's one thing you want to notice here. They're in a 5-man rotation because we don't have a crease player. So in a 5-man rotation, on defense, essentially what they're trying to do is share 2 men at once. If any one player can share the responsibility of 2, then they're doing their job. The problem is once you do commit to one of the 2 players that you're sharing, if you don't get that player next to you to string adjacent, and here we have number 25, Brian Karalunas, seems like he's still in a fight with the ref. He's missing his adjacent slide, and we see that opportunity. So sometimes power plays are really quick because you're just reading the defense. Ryan Brown has such a powerful shot with his right and his left hand. That little hitch that he uses to step in convinces their defender to go over to him. And before I shoot, this was key. Watch Ryan Brown's pass. Perfectly by my ear, thrown into space with the right amount of pace. The ball has a nice little arc, so it sits in my pocket well. A lot of shooters know that if you're catching a ball, even by your ear, if it's coming hot, it can sometimes jam your pocket and have an untrue shot release. Ryan Brown sees this opportunity. They're not going to rotate over. He gives it perfectly to me. It allows me to step in and get full accuracy on my shot. Now look at how epic of a teammate John Crawley is. He is fired up from the sideline. That's the type of teammate you want to play with. Important to know the scout of your goalie. Timmy Troutner was the Rookie of the Year. He plays all 4 corners well. So when you get a chance to step in top center, typically want to put the ball off stick, high or low. In this case, because I caught it by my ear, I was going to let go. One of my favorite shots was that sidearm shot. And typically when I'm letting it go sidearm, I'm going to try to win with high heat. If I were to have caught it higher or by my chest, I probably would have gone low and likely stick side low because of how much ground he was showing. Timmy Chatner did a good job with his right leg of covering the most dangerous spot for goalies, and that's their off stick low. So I ended up ripping it short side high. If you think about a time and room shot versus a shot on the run, as we talked about in the game versus the whips, here's the big difference. You get to step in, create a really wide base. That base between my left leg and my right leg gives me an airplane's runway to take my stick from the back leg all the way to the front leg, and that's power. When you're on the run, you can't set your feet like that. So most of your power comes from your hips all the way up through your arms. So now here I get a runway, hips, legs, arms, full rotation.
Did it like the Porsche. Step in. Coming in. Yeah. Flex. Yep.
For this last clip, before we shift over to chaos and whip snakes, this is a transition goal. So I was playing defense. All right, start of the play. Ryan Ambler splits two, gets trail checked. I'm able to grab it and we immediately take off. And notice right away that I have Hartzell as well as Andrew Hodgson on a fast break. As a transition midfielder, as soon as you get the ball on your end, you want to test odd man scenarios. So I look up, I see Kyle Hartzell, I see Andrew Hodgson. Both of those guys are running hard, so I know, all right, it's on. But Tom Schreiber looks like he did a pretty decent job of getting to the box. And then Scott Ratliff, top of the screen, was able to get a running start and try to stop the 6-on-5 momentum, sprinting in. So as I begin to survey the field and I see Ratliff coming on, I threw this fake shovel pass to Haji, try to generate matchup momentum. Then I realize, all right, Hartzell is going to be out of the equation because Ratliff is in, so no more two-pointer opportunities. Hodgson making this off-ball sprint all the way through is crucial. Look at him. Surveying, cutting through, giving me space, closing off his man. Kyle Hartzell does a great job of staying in line with me. So he's not running past me and then he stops and trails. That's crucial too, because if Ratliff decides to go in and cover up Ryan Brown, then I can peel back and give it back to Hartzell for a shot. Now it just becomes about a matchup opportunity. So I realize that I have Will Manny. I'm a bit fatigued, but we're in a 6-on-6 situation. It's a bit scattered. They have no crease, so I need to test their defense. So right here, I just lean into Will, use a size matchup, shrug him off, and then Mike Simon lunges adjacently. I'm able to hitch, get as close as I can to the net to ensure it goes in. Notice that our attack this whole time is staying in a flat break because there's not a clear odd man advantage. So Brent Noseworthy is low as the lefty attackman. And then he sees Mike Simon begin to ball watch, likely going to slide up field. So he actually does a great job of backdooring Simon, should I have pulled up and just pass it one more to Nose. For any shooter, when you're in tight, you actually don't need to shoot the ball hard. You just need to get it out of your stick. So at this stage, notice that my hands stay high near the head of my stick so I can protect it. And then I've been practicing this for a long time, being able to shoot with your hand that close to the throat of your stick. All right, we're shifting to this Chaos Chrome game and one of the more dynamic goals out of the midfield from the 2019 season. We have Jake Fricaro, who probably had his best pro season of his career. As he's coming down, they have 6 offensive players on the field. You can't see Dane Smith. He's off the screen. Joel White's covering Dane Smith, but he's going to hustle on. You'll see him in a second. Jake Fricaro looks like he's dodging here, but he's not. Jake Fricaro does a fantastic job of indicating that he's going to be a presence right here, but all he's doing is setting up this dodge. If Jake went too hard, he probably would have drawn a slide. So he wanted to lean in, protect his stick, and then boom. What if you're Jake Fricaro and you get to start your dodge from the hash and goal line extended 5 yards from the near side pipe with Miles Thompson 5 yards north upfield, with Josh Byrne 7 yards diagonal, with Connor Fields 7 yards at X behind you, and Deemer Class sitting close to the slot just at the 2-point line. He'll take it. So he's going to create space by dodging up screen, and there's Dane Smith. But notice how Dane Smith and Miles Thompson are on the same page. They know Jake Fricaro is a strong righty midfield shooter, so they're both going to shallow cut. Dane Smith does a good job of just clearing all the way through. Look at him jog all the way down and opposite. So he carried Joel White completely out of the play. And then if you look at Miles Thompson, he's going to do a couple things. He's either going to go down and pick, which he doesn't want to do because he realizes he has a long pole. There's no sense in allowing your defender to switch with a long pole onto Ficarro, who's got a short pole. The other thing he could have done is screen his defender, and he elects to do the right thing, which is shallow cut inside. This slight hesitation by Miles right here causes Flanagan to open up. If he just maintained a slow dodge, Flanagan probably would have let him drift and made an easy double team. This, boom, right there. That hesitation causes Flanagan's head to whip around. And now all of a sudden, Ficarro has space. Boom. So check out what has to happen here. Instead of an easy double team or clean switch, you're having Mike Manley, who's covering Connor Fields way off ball, realize that his defender has no help and he's going to have to hunt a double team. By then, it's too late. So here's where he gets to, and this is the benefit of starting at goal line extended, is him using his muscle to get upfield. While this is a really difficult shot, off balance, fading away, shooting off the screen of your defender, he's still inside of 10 yards. So as soon as he gets to there, he's realizing, all right, I'm going to take my right leg, try to shift momentum so I can get some power on my shot. But I know that inside of 10 yards, for any goalie, even if you shoot at 80 miles an hour, they have 0.2 seconds to make a split-second save. Moreover, not only is he inside of 10 yards to take a shot, but he's shooting a shot off the screen of his defender, which makes it way more difficult for Galloway to track. So he uses space to his advantage, a defender to his advantage, and he's able to get it off before Manley comes hunting upstream. Shows a little strength. That's a strong man's dodge. All right, final play of this episode. We're going to get a time and room 2-point shot from Mike Chanichuk, but let's start with this offensive set. They've got 6 players on the field. They're in a scattered look, but they have all 3 of their midfielders up top. Drew Snyder, with the ball, has a long pole on him. So he's going to pass up top to Joe Locascio, and Joe Locascio is going to hunt. Notice as soon as Snyder passes, he's going to start shallow cutting. Can't tell you how important that is for off-ball players, especially tangent midfielders at any level. As soon as you pass, start to work so you don't get in the Dodgers' way. There's nothing worse as a Dodger than creating space and then running into your freaking teammate. So Drew does well. Now let's look at Chanichuk. Chanichuk plays a game here. So he could have chosen to shallow cut. Instead, he presents a pick, but then he slips the pick to cause some confusion. Why that's so important? By presenting a pick here, you see his defender, Pat Harbison, assume that that pick's going to land and he's ready to switch. Jack Neer, who's on ball, also sees it here and thinks, okay, this is going to be a flat switch. I'm going to pick up Chanichuk. Now Chanichuk slips, and there's confusion. Pat Harbison says, all right, I'm already this deep. I'm going to try to stick with Joe Locascio. And what they end up having is 3 men pretty close to the ball. Matt Lannis is sliding flat. Harbison looks like he's there. Jack Neer's still on ball. Joe Locascio does a great job of turning quickly and recognizing, hey, I've got Pat Harbison here. That means Mike Chanichuk's open. A bit like Ryan Brown from earlier in the episode. Ryan Drenner's on the crease and slow playing this whole thing. He sees that Pat Harbison gets caught in his decision making. And so rather than letting Pat Harbison recover quickly, look at how clever this is by Ryan Drenner. Sets a pick. Now Joe Locaccio's job is to deliver the ball on time and on target so Chanichuk can do what he does best. Boom. Look at that pass. Mike Chanichuk led the league in 2-point goals, and I don't even think it was close. He had an ability to whip his stick around, center his shoulders to the target, and really deliver with pinpoint accuracy. So let's look at Channy. He catches it and in one cradle has it out. That's fantastic, especially catching it across your body. Most midfielders would be instructed to catch this ball with their left hand and deliver a lefty. You can catch with your right, but it's across your body, and it requires a lot of soft hand and skill to make that quick cradle back as he does. He is catching it in a cradle, which enables him to then focus on his target and his release. So what Channy does really well is he shoots not only with full momentum of his body, but he zips his wrists around last minute to control which corner he's going to shoot at. And because he has that sidearm to three-quarter release, look at Timmy Troutner's right knee there. That sidearm release that he has causes Troutner to lean in the direction of that stick. And then he's got to realize, oh man, it's coming back to the short side. I've got to whip my body around to try and save it. By then it's too late. If Chanachuk decides to keep it stick side or shoot to the short side of where he's at, it might be saved. So he realizes the power in his wrist to bring it all the way across his body. And not only that, but off stick low. And I think this is really important to discern the difference between the way Channy shoots and the way I shoot, for example. Is when I have this dead center shot at 2, Timmy Troutner on this freeze frame had that off stick side low covered with his right foot. Because Channy is whipping that around in one motion, it causes Troutner's leg to almost buckle and clear space for that lower corner. All right, that is it. Episode 2 is in the books. We're probably going to trim that 45 minutes down to 15. You got 6 clips, 6 different looks. Hopefully you learned something. Comment below if you have some questions on this episode, what you want to see in future episodes. We'll also be sharing these clips on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks again for watching. Looking forward to doing this series more and more.